The mission of the Chicago Innovation Awards is to celebrate, educate, and connect Chicago's innovation community. We do that through a lot of events, a lot of activities. The biggest thing that we do that most people know about, of course, is the awards process, which is happening right now. So you can nominate your new product, your new service, your new organization for the 2012 Chicago Innovation Awards. It's easy, it's free. It's on our website, chicagoinnovationawards.com. We have a brand new site that we just launched last week. The deadline is July 15th, so make note of that. If you have a new product, a new service, a new organization, we want to know about it. So come to our website. And this year's winners, we've got a lot of great things planned. So the award ceremony itself is at the Harris Theater on October 22nd. That's where we celebrate this year's winners. The winners will also be profiled in the Chicago Sun-Times, featured on an ad campaign on the CTA. As well as invited to ring the opening NASDAQ bell in New York City, which we think is really cool. You're also invited, I see these two people right here. They're asking me, what else do they get? So the Disney Institute this year has invited the winners to participate in a 3.5-day innovation training course down in Orlando, Florida. They'll also take care of your family with hotel accommodations, so another cool thing for this year's winners. Governor Quinn also said he wants to meet with this year's winners and really know what they're doing, so we've organized an annual Chicago Innovation Awards private luncheon just with the governor and the winners to share their winning innovation. So that's not enough incentive to nominate. Not sure what else is, but besides all that, we do a lot of events leading up to this big awards process or awards ceremony. So there's this event that we're here for, Past Winners Showcase. We had a kickoff event last month at 1871 in the Merchandise Mart. And then just want to highlight things we have coming up this year, which obviously we'd love for all of you to continue to attend and be a part of. Our Media Capital and Strategy Day on August 13th in the Museum of Broadcast Communications. Our nominee reception at the House of Blues on September 5th, and that's where we celebrate and honor all of the nominees, not just the winners, so that event's for everyone. Practical Innovator at the Kellogg School of Management on September 18th, and what's really cool about that is that Kellogg gives 75 $2,500 scholarships to each of the top 75 nominees to participate in this executive ed course called the Practical Innovator. And then, of course, there's the Chicago Innovation Awards on October 22nd. So all of this is made possible by the support of a lot of great sponsors. And I want to call out some companies and some people who are in the room today who really make all this possible. So first, it's our gold sponsors that are our biggest supporters. Wrigley, Comcast Business Class, and I saw Karen Dale and Chris Miller and a few other folks here. And then our newest gold sponsor, Disney Institute, and Kate Schubert and Liz Franco, and I think Jeff James as well, who's here. Our silver sponsors, want to give them a big shout out and thanks, and that's Edelman and Nancy Ruchinsky in particular, who will also be one of our panelists here tonight, and then also Smith Buckland and Steve Rabior, who I saw here earlier. Our bronze sponsors, Tech America, Sims Chicago, and I saw Susan Malisk here, ITA, and thanks to Fred Hoke. Google, Savo, which is Mark O'Connell, who's the CEO, also one of the panelists here tonight. Illinois Innovation Network, CEC, and Vedder Price. And a big thanks to Angelo Buffalino, who continues to be our big champion over at Vedder Price. And it's a great group of folks. Also, our media sponsors, just want to thank them real quick. Chicago Sun-Times, Jessica Runyon, Brad Messenger. It's amazing, I'm memorizing all these names. WBBM News Radio, CS Magazine, Cranes, built in Chicago. Our Chicago Innovation Foundation leaders, that's Baxter, Redbox, SoCore Energy, and our major contributing sponsors in particular, if you guys like the food tonight, that's Boca Restaurant Group, which catered all of it, so big thank you to them. Also want to call out Color Jar and David in particular, because we just launched our site this week, and it's the coolest website we've ever had, so thank you for that. And then also Resolution Communications Group and Fresh Giants, who are filming tonight's event. So with that, I wanted to tell you that, so there's a special theme for tonight, and it's how to create a culture of innovation and then how to lead it. So those are the two things we're going to focus on. And there was one person in this room in particular who's the world's expert on this topic. So I want to introduce him. So creating and leading a culture of innovation, he actually teaches a course at Kellogg with this exact title. He's also the president of an innovation consulting firm, the writer of 6 books on innovation and leadership, and you also know him as the co-founder of the Chicago Innovation Awards, Tom Kaczmarski.
Thank you, Luke. Okay, Dan Miller, stand up so everybody can see Dan Miller. Come on, now, come on. He's a good-looking guy. So how's everybody doing tonight? Oh, man, the energy is just great. The people are great, and we're just so really thrilled that you're here tonight. We really are. Michael Kraus, who I'm going to introduce in about 4 or 5 minutes from now, who's one of our special friends and big supporters of the Chicago Innovation Awards, has brought with him a fantastic panel. So we know you're going to enjoy it and learn a lot tonight. I wanted to just share with you for about 4 or 5 minutes a few thoughts on creating a culture of innovation, because I've been so excited to see organizations finally understand that it's about the people and it's about the environment that we create within companies that really makes the difference. It's not just about the process and the strategy and the creativity. It's also, importantly, whether or not we're letting people really and truly take risks and ultimately give them permission to fail. So giving people permission to fail and creating an environment where that can take place is really some of the cornerstones of creating a culture of innovation. Brian? It also cuts across a wide variety of public sector, private sector, and as we've seen in the Chicago Innovation Awards, we are always looking for nominations that come from all different sorts of Pause Chicago. Pause Chicago was created to be able to decrease the number of dogs and cats that get killed each year in the city of Chicago. Paula Fasea started this. She wanted to go from 40,000 down to about 20,000. She's already down below that. How did she do that? Well, she created both the Lurie Center adoption centers as well as spay-neuter centers to be able to take care of this problem from a couple of different angles. Our friends at Groupon or the public sector, the bus tracker, I still love that one. You know, all of us in Chicago, we do that dance at the bus station in the wintertime when you're out looking, you know, when's the bus coming, when is it coming? And Bus Tracker was able to solve the problem of waiting for the bus by being able to really put the control in the hands of the consumer. And government like Millennium Park, which was a winner many years ago, are just examples of how innovation can cut across a wide variety of different sectors. The other thing that I love about what we've done with the Chicago Innovation Awards is that we've been able to create a true environment that is inclusive, that begins to say, look at all the industries, look at all the sectors that innovation is occurring in. And I think it is so representative of what's all the great things going on in this city. Just 2 weeks ago, I was in New York talking to some reporters about how now we've got lots of people from the West Coast and the East Coast that's coming to Chicago saying, what's going on here? How are you all doing all this with all this entrepreneurship that's taking place? And so there's a lot that we should be proud of. It also, from an innovation perspective, I think is one of the key drivers for stimulating economic growth. And so again, in Chicago, what we've been able to do has been create organizations like Accelerate Lab, 1871, Technori Pitch, the Invest Illinois Venture Fund. All of these are aimed at connecting, just as we are with the Chicago Innovation Awards, a wide group of different types of innovators, big, small companies, high-tech, low-tech, and no-tech. And I think what the important part about this has been is the connections that are finally being made. Connections from big companies to small companies to venture capitalists to marketing firms to really creating an ecosystem in our great city that's enabling innovation to really occur at a rapid rate. Now, we just completed a study, and it included taking a careful look at 87 different organizations. About 1/3 were billion-dollar companies and above, and the other 2/3 were about evenly split between under 100 million and 100 to a billion. And about 30% products, 30% services, 30% both products and services. And what we found was that their number one barrier to innovation growth was insufficient funding of both, not only dollars, but also of people. And the people insufficient funding is probably the strongest barrier that organizations have today. And so one of the things that we're trying to encourage also is reaching out and building bridges with a wide variety of different organizations, universities, different entrepreneurial endeavors that we can augment this issue or try to solve this problem to some degree by being able to use each other as resources, as sounding boards, as potential innovators. But Brian, just go back for a second. But what we also found, and I find this interesting, is that a lot of the barriers to innovation growth are also due to companies just not kind of taking the time to figure out what they want to use innovation for, having clarity and setting expectations with management, having a process that people understand and buy into, and ultimately aligning that strategically with where they want to head. So these are factors that are really important for driving innovation growth. We also found that successful companies, and those were defined as, if you took a look at 10 launches, more than 5 of those were successful in the marketplace. Unsuccessful were less than 5. And what we found was that the more successful companies were those that truly had an innovation strategy in place, had set those expectations, had really had goals and understood. It wasn't just the garage, invention of the day, the eureka moment. It really is a business discipline that organizations can use as a key a mechanism and fuel for growth. So ultimately, this is about culture. And that's why we're here tonight, is to be able to talk to folks that have done this and have done this well and understand the role that culture plays. And the last thing I'll share with you is this view of, at least the view that Susan and I have of leadership. Leadership has changed a lot over the years. And if you can remember back maybe 10, 15 years ago, the style of leadership that had the highest impact or the greatest impact was kind of control and compete. I'm the leader, so get behind me and line up and just follow me off to the horizon. Well, things have changed a lot in the last 10 or 15 years. And our view of leadership is one that has to be one that is inclusive of people. It's a collaboration effort. It's one that really requires humility and being able to look at one's own vulnerabilities and strengths and weaknesses. It's one that ultimately requires decisions, but decisions that are based on values, not just based on profits. And also one that's transparent and open to each other to ultimately be able to have a compassionate type of leadership style. So what we have found is that entrepreneurs and companies that are doing innovation well tend to have shared leadership and people that really understand that the number one asset they have are the people within their organizations. So culture and innovation is our topic tonight, and we're delighted to bring together a panel of experts and specialists. And let me introduce tonight's number one best moderator. He's the best moderator in the city of Chicago. He really is. He's like booked out months and months in advance. Michael Kraus began his career in packaged goods marketing and then helped launch the number 2 chocolate chip cookie brand, Keebler's Chips Deluxe. But he migrated from chocolate chips to computer chips and was part of the team that created Anderson Consulting. He later grew Omnitech Consulting, a business strategy and change management services firm that was acquired by Diamond Technology Partners, and his current professional services venture, Market Strategy Group, focuses on helping organizations develop and execute strategies to achieve growth and align teams with those organizations to succeed. Michael also served as the co-chair of the former Chicago Mayor Richard M. Daley's Council of Technology Advisors and serves on the advisory board of the Polsky Center for Entrepreneurship at the University of Chicago Booth School. Please welcome our great friend, Michael Kraus.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Hey, welcome everybody. So I'm looking at this panel that we have tonight, and all I can say is, wow. This is better than anything Conan O'Brien has over at the Chicago Theater. I'm serious. You are in for a treat tonight. Let me just do a little bit of a process step. I mean, we are all that stands between you and drinking more. So we're going to go for about 45 minutes or so. We'll get you back to drinking somewhere a little before 7:30, but we do want you to come and drink and get to know one another. We are celebrating innovation. We are all about how to create and lead a culture of innovation. I'll introduce each panelist. We're going to let each panelist, 4 of these folks are Chicago Innovation Award winners. 2 of them are true luminaries of innovation in Chicago and nationally and globally. They're going to talk a little bit about what they do, their thoughts about innovation, and a little bit about culture and leadership of innovation. And then I have some questions, but mainly I'm going to give it all to you. So let me tell you who I've got, and I'm going to ask them as I briefly headline who they are. First, Jeff Aronin. Jeff, come on up and grab a seat. Now, Jeff is the king of ethical pharmaceuticals, and there's proof that you can make money in legal drugs. And I'm going to tell you more about Jeff in a minute. Welcome, Jeff. Nancy Roshinsky, come on up. Nancy had 2,000 people working for her at Edelman. She is the most innovative communicator in America, and we're going to hear more about how she... Yes, I am setting expectations high. Harper Reed, come on up, Harper Reed. Not only did Harper run Threadless, give him a hand. Now, he can't say this, but I can because I went to college with David Axelrod. He's teaching David Axelrod everything he knows about the internet. Axelrod learned it all from Harper Reed, but he won't say that. Now, where's Mark O'Connell? Mark, who's the CEO of Savo. Mark will tell us a bit more about his former venture, Matrix One, where he helped one of his investors. Who's from William Blair? Somebody's from William Blair. Katie, are you here today? Katie, where are you? Somewhere Katie's here. Oh, hey, Katie. This guy took a $9 million investment that William Blair made in his last company and turned it into $250 million. So he knows something about monetizing innovation and is a real hero here. Great, been through a great IPO. Sarah Newcomb, where is Sarah? The producer of Positivity. The producer of Positivity. I told her I'm the Darth Vader of moderators, but I'm sure she can get me going here. All right, and then last but not least, where is Mr. Innovation, Tom Kaczmarski? Give him a round of applause. All right. So this is the panel. Now, just to be a little bit serious, I should probably tell you a little bit more, just briefly, about each of these folks, because I am enthusiastic about the panel, but I want you to come away with some content knowledge. And is this buzzing too much? Am I okay? All right. So Jeff won a Chicago Innovation Award in 2007 for Ovation Pharmaceuticals. He basically took a company that was a startup and sold it for $900 million in a market where, and I've been around Chicago my whole life. We said we couldn't do biotech in the Midwest. He proved we can and can continue to do it. So he not only built a company, he's building an industry in the Midwest. And now he's been CEO of Lundbeck, and he's doing investments. And the last time I saw him, he was with Michael Farrow, and they were having lunch. And I'm sure he told Michael Farrow to buy the Sun-Times, Dan Miller, but we'll find out the truth later. All right. Let's go to Nancy. Nancy Roshinsky is a board member of the Chicago Innovation Awards, Chief Innovation Officer and Global Vice Chair of Edelman, world's largest global PR firm. She's responsible for driving innovation for their entire global client group. And as I mentioned earlier, 2,000 employees report to her when she ran the US. I mean, she is a luminary in innovation. Harper Reed won a Chicago Innovation Award for a crowdsourced business that basically, Threadless. How many of you know Threadless and bought t-shirts? I don't need to tell you anything more. And from there, he is basically helping re-elect the President of the United States, and whichever side you are on, I'm bipartisan, but I'm really and truly a centrist Dem. So I hope you do well. I hope you do well. Sorry, never mind. Okay, Mark, as I mentioned, Mark is president and CEO of Savo Group. They won a Chicago Innovation Award. What's really intriguing about Mark is that he is, as I mentioned, an experienced CEO around innovative companies. He's taking a company that is private equity backed and was started by a terrific Chicago entrepreneur, John Aiello. It's around sales enablement, and he's taking it to the next level. He'll have great things to tell us. Mark, welcome. Sarah, you won a Chicago Innovation Award with your colleagues, and we're right here in your environment. You are the producer of Positivity at Red Frog. Give her, isn't that great? I think that's just so great. And I'm going to let her tell you all about what Red Frog does. And lastly, Tom is a longtime friend, a terrific consultant. Tom has published 6 books. He teaches 3 courses at Northwestern. He's one of my heroes, and I think he's one of Chicago's heroes, because 10 years ago, he and Dan Miller got together and said, we've got to do more about promoting and commercializing innovation in Chicago. And some people talk about it. Tom and Dan and the team, they've really done it. So congrats to you and welcome. All right. So let me give it one more time. All right. All right, and enough of me. Let's start down the path, and we'll just go right down. Jeff, tell us about Ovation. Tell us the story, and how did you win a Chicago Innovation Award, and any thoughts you have about leadership and culture for innovation.
Okay. Well, I started Ovation with the idea that big pharmaceutical companies were all merging, and they were becoming mega big pharma companies. As that happened, they couldn't develop drugs for the smaller markets. It cost $1 billion to get a drug developed. It took 10 years. So I came up with the idea. I said, you know what, if we focus on these niches, we put together a great team and we just focused on smaller market products, drugs that were $200, $300 million of revenue. So they were much too small for the big pharma companies. And we filled that need in the market. And by doing that, we created a great pipeline of products. We created many drugs that got approved. And it was a different, unique way to look at the pharmaceutical model. And after we did that, we were able to sell it to a big pharmaceutical company who wanted a U.S. presence, and they used that as their platform. They used the products that we're all launching as their innovation, as their pipeline for their future.
Okay, and what are you up to now? I don't know that I got that out on the table so well. Are you continuing to do innovative things?
So I had to serve as CEO of the combined company for a year as part of the deal. And then me and my senior team, we're doing it again.
All right. Is that cool? I mean, I'm sure he doesn't need the money. He's motivated. All right? Cool. Way cool. Welcome, Jeff. Okay, Sarah, so tell us what Red Frog is. Tell us how you create a culture of innovation. It looks like the environment might help.
Yeah.
And how did you win a Chicago Innovation Award?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I first just want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. We're so proud to be able to show off our space that we're so proud to have. Just a quick background, Red Frog Events actually started in 2007 with our initial event, the Great Urban Race. Our founder, Joe Reynolds, had this inspiration to create something that was similar to Amazing Race, where people can explore their cities and have fun and just do something that's active and outdoors and causes people to use their mind and be challenged. So he created this event. It spawned enormous success. And then in 2009, we launched our second event, which was Warrior Dash. And just to back up for a moment, I have to tell you how we got our company name. Joe was actually sitting on Red Frog Beach in Panama when he had the idea for Warrior Dash. And he thought, I want to create an event where people can play. They can be adults, and they can run, and they can jump, and they can get muddy and dirty, but then they're going to get a beer at the end, and then they're going to be able to listen to music and be with their friends. So he had this idea that really just created fun. And it created something that people wanted to be a part of and experience with their friends. So that's kind of our very small background. And when you talk about innovation, I have to say that why we are here is because of the people that we work with. The people that we bring in here are incredibly talented. We trust them. We empower them. We create leaders. We let them express their ideas, and our environment fosters that. So really giving people the opportunity to think outside the box and have fun while they're doing it.
How many events?
Questions from the audience already. Oh, thanks. So this year we'll have just over 50 Warrior Dashes across the world, and we had one in 2009. So to show you our growth, we had one Warrior Dash 2009, we had 10 in 2010, just over 40 in 2011, and this year we will be the world's largest running series with 1 million racers.
Woo! All right. So, Nancy, tell us, now you are an officer, vice chair of one of Chicago's true entrepreneurial success stories. I don't know if everybody knows who Dan Edelman is and what he created. And tell us a little bit about the business and about creating a culture of innovation.
Sure. Okay, so Edelman is actually a Chicago startup. We're a startup with longevity because the startup was founded in 1952. We're coming up on our 60th anniversary, so we're a startup with legs. Yes. So we're coming up on the 60th anniversary, but Chicago's still the heart and soul and headquarters of the global firm. Started with one guy, Dan Edelman, who's still around at 93.
And wasn't it around a specific product? Was it the Tony?
Yeah, it was. Yes,
Tell
the
them about
Tony-
that.
The
They
Tony
need-
twins. No one in this room is old enough to remember the Tony twins. Are they? Oh, there's a hand in the back. There's one hand in the back. Yeah, we're skipping over the Tony twins.
Okay, never mind. Never mind. We'll come back to
The
this.
night is not long enough for that story.
All right.
But I will tell you, 60 years later, and it's always been a very entrepreneurial company, I will say, and you can decide the cause and effect relationship of this, but we're still privately held, still a family company. And that has served us very well, and we can talk in the Q&A about sort of the link between entrepreneurship and being privately held, when most of our competitors are actually part of big publicly traded holding companies. So the Edelman story, really briefly, is PR firm, PR at the center, 4,500 people in 60 offices around the world. Actually, we just opened our 61st office around the world. There's 600 or so people right here in Chicago. It's a full-service PR firm, and I think my job and the way that we're trying to, maintain a culture of innovation. We've always been seen as an innovative company, and we've led a lot of, best practices and created a lot of offerings that are now industry standards in the PR industry. But as you approach 60 years, and you're a much bigger and more complex organization with a lot more people, a lot more layers, you have to be that much more deliberate about maintaining a culture of entrepreneurship and innovation. So part of my job, which is a new role for me this year, even though I've been at the company 25 years, is to focus solely on innovation and preserving that heritage and making sure that we're thinking about what's next, not looking back.
And just so if you don't know about the Tony product, which was the first product.
determined to
No, I think the only reason I want to tell you this is that there was a time when you couldn't, if you were a woman, you couldn't really do your hair at home. And the Tony product was the first product where you could actually do your hair at home. And Edelman promoted that innovative product in the early 50s, and they're still promoting innovative products, and it all comes from Chicago. All right, so that was the reason I went there. But let's move from the 50s to the internet. All right.
Hi, I'm from the internet. That's the first thing. So back in 2000, a group of friends created an organization to help create the best T-shirts on the internet, and that organization was Threadless. How many of you have heard of Threadless? How many of you have bought a Threadless T-shirt? It's about the same amount that have heard of it. That's good. So Threadless was a online retailer, and basically what we did is we took all of the hard parts out of creating T-shirts, so people could upload designs. And then let me say this differently: we gave the people the easy parts, and we did the hard part, which was taking money. So they did all the work, we took all the money. So this is a really good pattern for creating a business. And I welcome all of you to do this, is give the work to the other people, and then you take the money. And so this started in 2000, and in around about 2004-05, I guess I should tell this differently. In 2000, they started Threadless in a consulting firm, and then around 2004-05, they fired all their clients, which is something I also recommend everyone do, because maybe not you, but it's it's a really good thing to do as well, and it feels really good because then you can focus on your core business, which is taking money. And so at this point in time, we focused on our core business. They hired me in as CTO, which was, I think at that time, at my ripe old age of 27, I was the adult supervision. And we just continued making the best T-shirt products on the internet. And when I left in 2009, we were shipping over 1 million T-shirts a year.
Wow.
We were making a lot of dollar bills. And all of this was crowdsourced. The thing about crowdsourcing that's exciting is we'd been doing this since 2000, and around 2004 we went to an event at MIT where they were talking about crowdsourcing, and one of the founders raised his hand and said, "What's crowdsourcing?" And MIT was like, "Well, you invented it." And we were just like, "No, we just wanted to make T-shirts with our friends. With all of you." Like, that's the thing, is it's not about, and so that's really the internet. And if you look at where crowdsourcing has taken us with these great companies like Quirky, or the user-generated companies like YouTube and all these things, it's the internet. I'm happy to be a part of the crowd and to take money. Thanks.
And we're glad you're here, and we'll give you money. There's another man, Mark. You'll take people's money too, but you'll actually give them a product. What is it? Sales enablement. And tell us about Matrix One too.
Taking money was one of my favorite things to do. May not have been quite so successful at it, but I think the idea around sales enablement is everybody here is all caught up in innovation, and and we try to inspire our organizations, inspire customers. We're trying to build a culture of that, and at some point in time, you either have figured out how to monetize that by getting customers inspired to give you that money, or you find investors who will do that, or you become a statistic on Tom Kaczmarski's road of you're in the 44% that didn't make it. And he said 50% of companies don't make that. And one of the things that we do at Savo is, when you think of all the money and all the time and all the sweat equity and the years and the days on the kitchen table and giving up vacations and staying away from dinners and ball games with your kids, and you're building product, and all of a sudden you sit back and say, man, I got to sell some of this stuff. And now who am I going to trust after putting all of this energy and years of sweat equity? You're going to turn to a sales rep, and you're going to ask them to fulfill your dreams. And that's one of the hardest things in the world to do. How do you get a sales rep to be inspired and carry your inspiration and passion into the hands of a customer? That will enable them to monetize that, and you'll be able to sell that and build a customer for life. So that's the business of Savo. We call that sales enablement. And the key for us is this is a culture that started long before I got into the company. I was actually a customer of Savo, and when John Aiello, the founder, decided he wanted to go off and work on his golf game and become a Little League coach full time, I said, hey, this is going to be a pretty cool thing. I think I could probably help them scale the company to the next level. And so a real important part of what we do is, in the culture of Savo, is really trying to hire very smart people, give them a work environment and other people to get to work with, including customers, where we get a lot of inspiration from them as well, and make sure that we're doing a great job of that. And that one of the things for sure at Savo that we do is we celebrate everything. And it's one of the cornerstones of our culture, that if we do something big or something small in innovation, it doesn't have to be technology, although we're a software company. It can be something we've done in HR, something we've done with the person that runs the reception area. But we celebrate every ounce of innovation that happens in our company, and we think that makes a big difference for us. And awards like this, Chicago Innovation Awards, is a past winner. Not only do our employees celebrate that, but so do our customers celebrate that. They really love that. So that's the Savo story.
Cool. All right, Tom, I'm going to give him a hand. And by the way, Mark has moved here from Boston, and we want him to get his family here. We want to make him really feel like a Chicagoan. So tell him about the Cubs and the White Sox and the Bears. All right. So, the Cubs. The Cubs, yes. Tom, I think people kind of might know a little bit about what you do. So I thought I'd lead off the questioning with you. Are innovative companies born or made?
It's a great question, Michael. I think innovative companies are 100% made. I think the mythology is often that it's the entrepreneur, inventor that will ultimately be the source of innovation. And what I have found to be the case is, more often than not, it starts with a team of people. A small team, may even be 2 people or 3 people, but it really is the dynamic of that team. And they tend to have 2 common characteristics. One is they have a passion for their customer, as Mark said, and they want to understand what their customer's need is and really try to solve that. And then the other is that they truly have a desire to make an impact and do something better and different. And I think those 2 characteristics is what ends up making a company more innovative.
Okay, do others agree or disagree on the panel? I'm going to move around so that we get into the audience here and get some questions in a little bit, but do others disagree? Are innovators born? Everybody thinks that every company can be innovative.
If innovators are born, that's super boring, I think. So, I think we all have to have faith that innovators are made, or we can just go home, right? So I'm going to say they're made.
But you look kind of innovative.
I was totally born like this. My parents are very proud. But one of the things, just to build on what Tom was saying, at Threadless, we built a product for us. This product was something that we identified we needed, which was inexpensive T-shirts that were great. And so once we decided we're solving this problem for us, it was easy because we just found out that other people like us. I know it's hard to believe, but there are other people like us that would buy that stuff. And so, which is roughly, I think, similar to what Tom said, but it's way easier to find a market, or what the market product fit, or whatever that acronym is, when it is you that are doing the buying. If you say, I would pay for this, that's a pretty good gauge of whether it's successful. And I don't know really what innovation means per se, but I can tell you that if I would pay for it because I like to hold on to my money, then it's probably something that's a decent product.
Okay, others? Jeff?
Yeah, I would agree with what Tom said a little bit, in that when you're an entrepreneur, you want to make a difference, and you want to change the world. And I think that's one of the key elements. The people that came to work with me when we started Ovation had to leave big, safe pharmaceutical jobs with big companies, which at the time looked very safe. And they left it, and it was just me at the time. It was just a vision of what we were going to do. We're going to make a difference in the world. These patients who had these small diseases had no hope. We met with the advocacy groups, the parents, the mothers, the families, and people could see that they were making a big difference. So people took chances, they left, they believed in it because they could have been doing a lot of other things, but they believed they were making a real difference. I believed we were making a difference by solving a need in the market. And I think that's the other thing. You have to solve something. You gotta fix a problem and be passionate that you're making a difference.
Now, I just want to juxtapose you and Sarah for a minute, because you help people solve life-threatening disease problems. And Sarah, I just love Sarah's work because, Sarah's and the Red Frog folks seem to have a lot of fun. But both businesses are serious businesses. I guess, Jeff, talk to me first and then Sarah. Jeff, how do you inject fun and innovation into very serious business?
Well, I think fun just, you get the right people in the environment. People will enjoy it. They'll enjoy being with each other. There's hard days. There's good days. But, I think we do have a fun culture. I think more important, though, than fun, that's fleeting, is it's rewarding. People feel like they're making a difference. It matters. That's enjoyable. And you know what? When people, I give everybody that works for me a little bit of equity. So when they own it and they feel like they're making a difference, that's when people love doing what they're doing. That's when they enjoy it, and that's fun.
All right. So what I hear so far, and then go to Sarah, is if you can give people purpose and profit, that's going to stimulate innovation. Sarah, what about you? Is it a serious business? How do you inject serious and fun? How do you get this business innovative that we're all living in right here?
Yeah. I think that's a great question, actually. And I would respond by saying it depends what your definition of serious is. If you define serious as coming to the workplace in a suit and tie and carrying a briefcase, then we're maybe not so serious, but we take our work incredibly seriously. And just because we have a conference room that's made out of Lego tables or Lego pieces doesn't mean that we won't be putting every ounce of our creativity and our passion and our sweat and our blood into the conversation that's happening at that table. I can think of a meeting I was at in early January this year, and there was 20 of us sitting around this table so focused on making this operational plan in order to have one of our events happen. That's a big deal. It's our Firefly Music Festival, which I'm proud to say is launching this July. But this meeting and all of the key players that were at that meeting, unless we were completely focused and committed to the outcome of this, it's just the environment. So we're very serious because we're passionate too. So.
All right, passion's important. Passion, purpose, profits. I'm going to keep sweeping. Nancy, how do you keep those several thousand workers innovative?
Well, I think picking up on what the others have said, one of the things that we're doing, and again, I think you have to be really purposeful about this the bigger the organization gets, is trying to make sure that everybody has a chance to be heard. With 4,500 people, because great ideas can come from anywhere, right? And sometimes from very unexpected places. So one of the projects that I'm most proud of this year that we've launched is, speaking of crowdsourcing, is a platform, an internal platform for crowdsourcing ideas from around the firm. It's on our intranet. It's a SharePoint-based platform, but it's really, really cool. I think one of the Chicago Innovation Awards members, I don't know if the Spigot guys are here tonight. Oh, see, nice shout out for the crowd. They have a product that's a crowdsourcing product for ideas and innovation. See, free shout out from the panel. But we didn't know about them when we started this. Probably would have been easier, but we built our own. And really the promise of it is very simple. It's that every idea will be heard. So you might be an assistant account executive in Mumbai, and you have this great idea, but how do you sort of permeate, levels of senior management? How do you get the idea heard? How do you take an idea that might be of use to a junior account executive in Brazil? How do you sort of get that out there? So the platform is designed to sort of source ideas. People can share ideas. They can like and love. It's a social network, so they can like other people's ideas. They can add comments, and then most importantly, they can say, not only do I really like that idea, I want to be part of helping bring that to life. So that's, and again, I think that's something that we've been able to put into place.
What's the one word that describes your culture of innovation at Edelman?
Relentless. It's the first word that
Relentless.
popped into my head.
I love
Relentless.
it. What's Threadless? What's the one word that describes your culture of innovation?
I think go-karts.
Go-karts. And this
Maybe.
man juggles. Did you
Maybe.
know he juggles?
It might have been blow dart guns.
Blow dart
I'm not
guns.
sure. I mean, really, all it was we were there to have fun. And so our gauge, there was a time later where we discovered just metric-driven business, but before that, it was all about fun. And when we discovered it, things changed drastically. It might have been related to when the VCs got involved, I'm not sure. But for a very long time, it was a gut feeling. Are we doing the right thing? And a lot of that times that related directly to, are we having fun? And oftentimes, since our products were for ourselves, we all wore Threadless aggressively. We all, we sent Threadless as gifts. Christmas was very boring because I sent it to every single relative, the same Threadless shirt. Well, it differed. But the thing is that we loved it so much that it was our entire identity. So if we were having fun, we knew things were okay.
But it also sounds like you're an Alan Kay kind of guy. Invent the future. Don't go out and market research it.
Well, I think you don't have time often. But with that said, you can do a lot of very inexpensive testing by just seeing how the product floats. And I think the lean startup movement and some of the stuff they've done specifically around very quick testing with AdSense and some of these platforms that are very inexpensive will get you very far. But this is also, the company was founded in 2000. There was no cloud anything except for clouds.
Okay, so he is not all flash and mirrors. He's saying he does analytical testing. He does it quickly, cheaply.
No, we did not do analytical testing at Threadless. Let's just be clear.
Okay.
I'm saying you could.
You could. All right, never mind. I stand corrected. I'm gonna slide quickly to Mark. So Mark, how do you cope with failure, and how do you motivate even when it doesn't always work? And then I'm going to open it up to the crowd here, so get your questions ready.
I get the one hard question.
You get the one tough question.
Well, let's see, failure. I think failure comes from a couple different things. The first is your inability to deliver on a business plan, and in our company, everybody in our company is paying a lot of attention to that. They want to win. And a key element of building a culture of innovation in our company is people feel they need to feel like they're winning. They may be winning because they're doing something really innovative on a project. They're winning because we just got a great news from a customer. A customer's been able to solve a great problem. It doesn't always work. Not every innovation works, and we've had our fair share, and sometimes unfair share, of failures. And not everybody's built for failure. Not everybody's built inside of your company to be able to handle the news for that. And probably you'll never get everybody to be able to do that. But you have to get right back on the horse and get right back on focusing on the things we're doing well. I talked about we celebrate everything. You don't wait for the big things. You celebrate the little things, and they'll carry you over. It's a good lesson for life, and it's the way we run our company.
Cool. Let's open it up. This is crowdsourced questioning. So Tell me your question. I'll try to get to you. Who are you and what's your question?
Yeah, my name is Pablo Navarro, and my question is as follows. If, hypothetical scenario, you could change or improve anything you want about Chicago to drive more innovation, what would you change and why?
What would you change and why to make Chicago more innovative? Who wants to jump in?
Oh, I'd love to, because I love that question, and that's one of the things we've been trying to do here for the past 10 years, Pablo. And I think the number one thing would be to find more ways for more mentoring to take place, so that entrepreneurs and startups, and I like the idea of also having startups and entrepreneurs being able to mentor large corporations. Because that's the way, that's the direction that I also think they could learn a lot from. I think too often we think of mentoring as the large resource-based that's helping. I think it needs to flow both ways.
Mark, what do we need more in Chicago? You're from Boston.
Well, one of the big things that we struggle with is in our business of building cloud-based solutions is really the talent pool on software developers and people that are real innovators. And trying to capture the youth of Chicago universities to get them to stay here is a challenge. And so we have to go all over the country and even outside the country to get that kind of talent. And I know that that has gated our company's growth in the first part of this year, and we've had to come up with some really creative solutions. So if I could wave the magic wand and say I could get a much larger percentage of computer science graduates to stay, we'd be in good shape.
Where's Nick Rokup from IIT? Go right up and introduce yourself after this, and tell them how many software engineers you're creating. And good, Harper.
I got two things. The first thing is we need to celebrate Chicago. So if you look at a lot of the big companies that are successful here, Threadless included, we never once said built in Chicago. If you look at California, we always say built in California, or not we necessarily, but they always do. The second thing is stop talking about California. If every conversation we have is this question, we're never going to get past it. We constantly are saying we're second or third. We have to live and be number one. We're never going to get there if we constantly admit this.
Cool. Nancy?
Well, I think, well, look at the turnout here tonight. Look at the turnout at every Chicago Innovations Award event. I mean, thousands of people. So I actually think we've made fantastic progress. I hope the audience agrees. Thanks to Chicago Innovation Awards, 1871. I mean, I think there is a lot of energy and momentum in Chicago around innovation. And I think, I moved here 20 years ago. I just think there's a profound difference. And I think this is seen as the center. But I agree with Harper that, we've got to have the swagger, and we've got to not apologize. Yep. And we've got to talk about Chicago. We've got to talk about innovation in Chicago every opportunity that we get.
Sarah?
I think this is a very interesting question, and I have to say I'm slightly biased because I've only been in Chicago now for almost 2 years, and I'm actually from Boston. And maybe this is the producer of positivity coming out in me, but as a new placement in Chicago, I'm stunned by what I see. I mean, I've seen so many different emails go out and different events that I've been able to attend, and Nancy, to the crowd here tonight, this is awesome. So I think that if before we weren't maybe doing so well as far as innovating, we're certainly on an upward swing because I've been exposed to it heavily. And I also have to say, shout out to Chicago. People are so friendly here. In Boston, no offense to Boston, I loved living there, but you go to an event and people aren't necessarily open to sharing ideas and networking and helping each other. And in Chicago, I mean, I made friends tonight already, and it's just, that's nice. So thank you to Chicagoans for being open. Keep innovating.
Cool. Yeah.
Woo! It's a great question, and I've been very fortunate to build my companies here in Chicago. I've great talent. The resources are here. All the great universities, great talent, great training. Chicago has been great for me and my companies. At the same time, we have a culture of Chicago where people don't want to take chances and don't want to fail. It's a reality. In the biotech community, in the high-tech community, there are places where people are not, where failure is not a stigma, but almost a badge of honor. And I think, there's a lot of people who, guys that left me, that left my companies, have gone out and started and been successful. Some have not been successful. There's big corporate executives who have left companies in Chicago. We need more of that. We need people who will leave big companies, start innovative companies, be an entrepreneur, and not be afraid to fail. And I think we should, promote that.
Sounds like it's working. Let's go to other questions. Go ahead. In the red, stand up, tell us your question, I'll repeat it.
Okay, David Devinson, MS Gaming, and I think I'm going to ask maybe a provocative question here, and that's about excuses against innovation and maybe how you deal with that. In one of the slides that you showed, Tom, the number one reason cited was lack of resources, and it's kind of like, well, I would love to innovate if people would just throw money at the situation. But that's just an excuse, isn't it?
So how do we, for those of you who might not have heard the question is, how do we deal with excuses not to innovate? Did I get it right? Tom?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And here's the answer. The answer is that we have to be able to look at innovation from the perspective of the customer, the end user. And that's really the starting point. So it's not about getting all the resources together. It's first understanding what's the opportunity. What is that problem that exists, and what's that solution that we could possibly create? And then use that as the rallying point to be able to get additional resources, to be able to move it to a prototype and to get investment behind it. So I think too often if the resource flag is raised, right? Oh, we need lots more resources. Before you've been able to really identify a potential opportunity, that's not gonna follow. But if you do it the reverse way, then it often does.
Does one other panelist want to jump in on that, and then we'll get to another question? Jeff and then Mark.
So I would agree. I was told what I was doing wouldn't work way more than I was told it would. Raising money is always tough. Getting resources is always tough. The reality is if you're filling the need in the market and people are willing to pay you for that, you will get the resources, you'll be able to be successful, and there's really no reason you shouldn't be successful. And look, it's part of reality. People are going to tell you it doesn't work. You don't want to have employees that don't believe, but you're part of being the CEO, part of being the entrepreneur is you're setting a vision and a culture to be successful.
Mark, and then Harper, I think you wanted to jump on this.
So I'm going to agree with our bookends here that, but I think one of the realities as companies grow and you have a lot of people with a lot of ideas, it's always hard to make the trade-offs. You're creating a culture of innovation, which means you come in every day and everybody in the company is trying to spawn new ideas. There probably isn't a market for all of that. And as Tom said, spending enough time to really understand the pain point of the market or the pain point of your customers. Every time I've done that and done that well, the money will come. It'll either come because you can inspire investors or you're going to inspire customers to co-invest kind of by paying for that innovation. But I think it's really important to keep your eye on the prize, and the prize has got to be, you have to find some way to monetize that. Because if you don't, the culture of innovation is going to get eaten alive inside your company because you're in a business, right?
Mark, are you a tough love kind of CEO? Are you a visionary CEO? You kind of say, I've got these 10 things, these tablets, and they came down, or how do you lead?
We build the culture of our company is built on aspirational goals. So what we do is we describe the market, the business problem we're trying to solve, what the company can look like over the next 2, 3, 5 years, and then we work across the entire company to get everyone in our company aligned with those aspirational goals. So when people come in, they're not just trying to solve today's problem. We're always bouncing against where are we going. I typically say I'm not here to make a quarter as a CEO. A lot of CEOs are concerned about making the quarter financial results. I don't manage Savo or any other company I've been in until I was a public company CEO. Cared a little differently then. Wasn't concerned about making a quarter. I was concerned about making sure we stayed on point and true to our vision and to the culture we're building.
So pick that North Star. Harper, you wanted to add to this.
So I have a little bit of a different perspective because I've only been involved in pretty early stage things. But for us, first of all, I don't believe you can throw money at something and spawn innovation. That doesn't seem to be something that happens naturally. But when we found innovation, it was only through strife. We needed to make this work, and we didn't think, oh, let's do something innovative and it will work. We never thought of innovation. And like when I talked about the story of us at MIT, a lot of the innovation was told back to us. I don't think one time we thought about how do we celebrate innovation in our organization. We were just running. And if we happened to innovate on the way, it was like, oh, cool, look back there, that was neat. But otherwise, we just didn't even pay attention. We only paid attention to doing the best and making the best product.
Cool. Let me come over here.
Hi. I'm in a dying business. I'm a floor trader here in Chicago, and I frequently liken myself to a buggy whip maker. So, if you could, and the people I work with are older, they're fairly intractable, and they're lacking any sort of real new vision. My boss recently, I told him we should innovate, and he said, I don't even know how we would innovate in our business, okay? So, if you had a buggy whip making business in 1905 and the car is coming and you're going to get run over, basically, how would you encourage your workers to innovate and become something new?
Sarah? Good question. And then
good.
Nancy.
Well, I was going to take it for you.
You can start if you want. I can add afterwards.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, the first thing I thought of as you were describing that is that typically you're not the only guy who feels that way. So I think a big part of what you need to do is find the other people like you in the organization. You're rarely the only one who thinks the organization should be innovating, right? And in your business, I don't know a ton about it, but I do know that you can't afford not to innovate. So I'm completely agreeing with the vision that you're trying to advance. I think you have to find sort of others within the organization that share a passion for innovation and band together to make your case. And then picking up on what we were talking about up here, you have to show the business case for it, of course. You have to use sort of filters to make decisions about whether, is this something that would, differentiate? Is there something that would advance the organization, advance our business interests? Can it be monetized? Is it scalable? Is it sustainable? All of those filters that you use. So I guess it probably starts with some form of strategic alignment, as you showed earlier, Tom. And asking the right questions and building a coalition of the willing within the organization to make the case.
Sarah? I mean, I was assuming you just tell them to come to Red Frog events and have an event, but what would be your answer?
No. Going off Nancy, I mean, people are the driving force behind things, in my opinion. And when you get a group of people together who are passionate, who want to do things, who actually want to make things happen, then you're going to see results. At Red Frog, we set up ourselves for a very different model. Like, we do things and we make things happen, and we pride ourselves at being the best at what we do. And so I think that if you're in a situation where you're looking to grow as a person or as a professional, it's like Nancy said, you need to put yourself around resources where you can thrive off of each other, and you can really hear what somebody else is saying, work with that other person, and maybe make a change within your company. And maybe that's too idealistic, but personally, I don't think it is. I think people drive change.
Cool. Tom?
Yeah, I'd consider the two A's. The first A are assets, the people assets. The second A is business adjacencies. What do I mean? People assets. You've all got some incredible experience, expertise that each of you individually have and then collectively also have. I'm not sure whether or not, right? Lots of times when people have been in the same business for many years, they just kind of assume that area of that level of expertise and that experience as opposed to really value it. So really understand what it is, write it down, have people really articulate it, and then look at other business and service opportunities that are outside of where you are today, where those current strengths and assets of the people might relate to other business adjacencies.
So, Tom, you're saying there's a process in part. Okay, I'm going to take one more question because otherwise Luke is going to tell me I'm keeping you from drinks. So tell us your name and your question.
My name is Randall Hunt. Not so much a question, but a statement, and it kind of covers a lot of the questions that you guys had. Because when I hear your answers, I think of basically one thing. My 12-year-old son. He'll look around his room and he'll say, Dad, I want to do this. And I'm like, well, do it. Well, how do I do it? I'll be back in an hour and you can explain to me how you do it. I'll come back in an hour and he's already started doing it. He's taken his time, figured out, I want to do this, and how do I do it? It's against the norm. To me, that's innovation. You have a norm and you want to go against the norm. And I get this from my 12-year-old.
I think that's a great statement. that we need to go against the norm and be willing to take risks. I'll take one more question.
Michael,
Yo!
one thing.
Go ahead. What's your question? I'll repeat it.
Oh, there's passionate.
Go. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Here's my question out there to the rest of the audience. I'd like to ask why there's so little confidence in the older people like myself, the innovators who come with experience, and how we get a team together who are young, who would come and join us. Because I find the hardest thing I find is I go to all these things and I'm older.
Okay. All right. So is gray hair good, Harper?
So I want to answer this a little differently. One thing that is incredibly important to me, and I think is incredibly important to innovation, is diversity. We have to hire people that are not like ourselves to create a diverse environment. So I hire engineers. How many people hire engineers? When was the last time you hired an engineer that didn't look like me? I challenge you to do this. We have to do this. Our community requires us to do this. It doesn't matter if they're older, they're younger, ethnicity, sex, whatever this is, we have to do this. We have to do it to support our organization. We have to do it to support our community, and I think this is going to help Chicago. So please.
Do it. Do it. Others, is gray good?
Yeah, very gray here. Of course, I think it's good. No, I just wanted just two quick things. I mean, one, thinking about adjacencies. You were talking about business adjacencies. People adjacencies are a really good idea too, and there's been so many articles written about this lately. But when you've got artists and engineers together, when you've got designers and technologists together, really, really disruptive, innovative, great things happen. So sort of non-traditional hires, putting people who are seemingly very different together on problem-solving committees and teams. I think really great things happen. And I also can't get the image of buggy whips and traders out of my head, so I just want to go back to that question for one point. I think one other thing that works is, fear can be a powerful motivator, and sometimes, and I've certainly done this with my boss within Edelman, painting the picture of what a failure to innovate looks like can be a very powerful motivating force, and really being able to articulate that. So I would throw that into the mix.
All right, let me mix it up for a last run down the line. If you're a young person in this room, the opposite of gray hair, you just came out of school, and you walked in here and you said, I want to be a part of innovation, just let's sweep right down from Jeff. What's your advice to young people wanting to get involved in innovation?
So my advice would be figure out an area that you know, that you understand what the end user is doing, and figure out how you can solve a problem or make their experience better, and focus on that, believe in it, and go do it.
Cool. Sarah?
Maybe this plays off the same tone, but I'm going to tell people to follow their passion, because when you're excited about something and when you're passionate about something, you're going to put in hours upon hours of thoughts and hard work. So follow your passion and do it with vigor and excitement, and don't be afraid.
I would say also take advantage of the resources that are here. We talked about Chicago. There's incredible expertise in this city. There's so much sort of right there. You just have to go out and look for it. You have to do the research. So many people want to help and mentor. And it's not that hard to get access to those resources. So take advantage of all that's here.
I think the first thing you have to do is quit your job. So once you do that, I think you can figure out what's next. And don't do it in the other order, or you'll never quit your job. The second thing is email people. So many people are available to email. I spent a year hanging out, helping people, and I answered every single email with at least a 15-minute meeting. And it's easy. A lot of people are out here. David Gardner, right there, he's very tall. He will go out to lunch with you, I promise you. There's a lot of people here who all they do is help. Just ask.
Mark?
I'm going to repeat my colleagues up here. I think the first thing is you're going to find something that you love. Even if you don't really know that, exactly what it is that you're going to fall in love with, you may be as a young person, you may fall in love with the environment that you see. So when you go in and you're interviewing, you're meeting people, you're going to have a gut feel of whether or not you think you could thrive, whether you like these people, and whether they will foster your development and kind of foster your innovation. So find the passion. If you can't find the passion, find people that will inspire you and create a culture for it.
Tom?
And mine is to get connected to the Chicago Innovation Awards so you can be with great people like everybody tonight.
All right. And I was going to say that you should read Tom Kaczmarski's book, Innovating Chicago Style.
And Dan Miller's.
And Dan Miller's book. And we can, this panel is an awesome panel. They're going to stick around. They will drink with you. They will answer questions with you. Thank them. Give them a hand. And thank you for supporting the Chicago Innovation Awards.
Thank you, Michael, very much.